it's Jennifer from Belladonna's Botanicals. I'm catching up on my backlog of videos to make, so I'm just gonna bang them all out tonight. So I'll just be wearing the same thing and same makeup and whatnot. Maybe I'll move my hair differently. Um, so the next topic I want to talk about a little bit, the context of demonolatry, is we talk about ascension practices a lot, and that can overlap like with like astral travel, soul travel, deep meditation. But what ascension is specifically, and I think I even kind of got this wrong, like in what I was calling astral travel, really for me was more of an ascension practice. And you can learn more about it. I have almost all of S. Conley's books at this point, or I will soon. So she goes over the ascension practice in Lake of Fire. It's a pretty small book, but she does have stuff in other books about it. But simply put, ascension is a state of just that ascended consciousness in which that is reached through deep meditation. So really, and I say this as a neurospicy ADHD autistic person with like lots of brain zoomies, it's not always easy to develop a meditation practice. Sometimes I am absolute crap at it for weeks on end, if not longer. Um because I've just got the brain swirls going on. So the first thing you really want to have is a very solid meditation practice. You don't have to meditate for hours on end sitting in lotus position. For me, because of my chronic pain and my joint issues, I often lay down in bed or curl up. I don't really sometimes if I'm getting into state to do something, I will sit in front of my altar. There's a very weird hazy glow in front of my altar right now. That's I don't know. There's something weird. Like it's almost like there's like a slight like I have candles burning. My incense is already out, but there's something that's almost like a haze overarching my altar, like a cloud or something. Very interesting. Anyways, I'm back to the point. Um, which I don't even remember what it was. Hey, remember how I said rain squirrels and concentration? So you don't have to meditate for hours on end. No one just sits down and meditates, can just be like, I'm gonna meditate for 3 hours. It takes time. There are so many different ways to meditate. Start simple. If you can meditate for a minute, you have meditated. Next time you meditate, maybe you meditate for 2 minutes. Maybe the next time it's only a minute again. Next time it might be 5 minutes. That is okay. Build your practice however it makes sense to you. And it doesn't have to be like sitting there quiet, letting everything go. Like a lot of times I'll meditate on a topic. I like guided meditations. Those help me more. Um okay, I don't know what the hell's going on with my altar, but there's like vaporous kind of something in front of it. Okay, I'm actually going to get up and like look and see. I have no idea. When I get closer to it, it's not as visible. I don't know. Anyhow, so like as I was saying, is that for me, sometimes I will sit in front of my altar on like the floor pillows. I can only do that for so long before my hips and my back start screaming, and then I can't meditate because I'm in too much pain too. So for me, it's about getting comfortable enough to meditate. Sometimes I lay prone, like face down to do it. Sometimes I'm curled up on my side. Sometimes I'm on my back. I have to meditate in a way that makes sense for my body. And the same for you. You don't have to sit there in lotus pose and whatnot, like I said earlier. So the specific thing with the ascension practice and demonolatry is that it allows you to commune with the demonic divine on the demonic plane. Now, some may call this, the infernal realm or the infernal empire, if you're in that aspect of it. I just look at it as the demonic plane. Like I look at it as different energetic spheres, and realms. So for that, when I go into an ascended state, I am going into a mode in which I can access the demonic plane in order to communicate with the demonic divine, and have experiences. It's not just me sitting there like having coffee with Lucifer, although I suppose I could. um I have sometimes cross-pollinated it a bit. I know she talks about building astral temples. Again, that's some way that I can access, and I do have some video content about astral temples. I think I did a podcast about it a few years ago. Because for me, being able to build my astral temple, I'm a visual artist, so I have a very, I didn't always realize not everyone has inner, can visualize things um inside their mind's eye, as it were. So for me, and I did a lot of video gaming and stuff and virtual world building kind of things in the past. So I know how, if, for me, building an astral temple gives me a point of access. So if I have trouble meditating or astral traveling, I can go out of body straight to the astral temple, not and use that as an intermediary jumping point to go elsewhere. Or I can go to my astral temple, call to Lucifer, and then work with Lucifer within my astral temple. So that's another way that you can do that kind of, excuse me, approach. So, and in books, she gives another thing. Flying ointments, shameless self promotion, are a good way to get into an ascension road practice. She has some different like anointing oils. Use ones from the Decante. It's rose, chamomile, and camphor. Um, I would be careful using camphor because that can be pretty like strong, like eucalyptus, but some of it is opening up your senses. Like, think of it being in like a sensory deprivation tank, because I did something like that recently in the bathtub where I was kind of completely submersed but just had my face kind of sticking out. um so to kind of give that like weight, not necessarily weightlessness, but the sensorial experience. So sometimes in an ascension practice, you might want to have some incense burning. I would be a little weary of candles unless you're really good at pulling yourself out. Often I will go into an ascension practice, astral travel, and eventually just that end up falling asleep after a fashion. But that can also lead into sort of the dream work loop aspect of it. So, but there are things you can do to put yourself into that state. There's different types of, she gives examples of some invocations. You can use the demonic ends as a way to communicate, to connect and communicate. Um, oh, this is the part where she, in the previous video I did on ends. So some of it, so like the end for Belial, Larash, Tassa, Vefa, Velik, Belial. The translation of that, Earth protect the soil, Lord Belial. Lucifer is Ranish, Tassa, Uberica, Biasa, Ikar, Lucifer. Sorry, cats we're talking about. And that's air protect the surrounding sky, Lord Lucifer. Gonic, Tassa, Fubin, Flurius. Fire protect the flame, Lord Flurius. Jadon, Tassa, Hoet, Naka, Leviathan. Water protect our circle, Lord Leviathan. So you can begin that. So you can do the invitation. You can invite. That's just the examples in here. And this allows you to communicate, to channel, to experience, to see the fully manifested spirit you're working with, or how they will present themselves to you. And as I've said all along in the history of this channel, the spirit world works with your visual frame of reference and your lived experiences. So that Belial might show up similar to you as he does for me. Sometimes not. Depends on Belial's mood. Belial can show up in a lot of really weird ways. So whatever, that's how they're gonna work with you. Moon, what are you doing? So a lot of times she gives a lot of different exercises. This is in the complete book of Demonolatry that I'm looking at. But so kind of trying to think how to describe it, because Ascension, you've got a lot of different terms that, sorry, are similar. They're related, but they also are a little different. So I look at an Ascension practice not necessarily in the same way I would look at, say, astral projection or astral travel, or even lucid dreaming in that way. That some of these can kind of overarch each other, but they have different modalities. So in deep meditation, when if I open my mind to communicate, that is that can lead to an ascension mode. It's sort of like thinking of it sort of in mundane terms. So I've got a walkie-talkie. I'm in deep meditation. I'm like, Lucifer, come in, Lucifer. Are you there? Check, check. Um, Lucifer might communicate to me from the demonic plane to me while I'm in the deep meditation state. But there are times when you can go out of body from that deep meditation state into that ascension mode, in which you are in the demonic plane or realm. I don't know what my cats are doing. They're mucking about. Moon, what are you doing? So that is how, like, I've had some of the most rich experiences and intense experiences doing this. Now, there's ways in which you can go out of the body astrally, doing like astral projection in the astral realm. I've talked a little bit about working in the astral temple, so you can kind of, so if meditation is like the ground floor, your astral temple would be kind of like one of your middle floors. So you're kind of halfway in between the physical realm in which you can kind of communicate from. So now you're like at a higher ascension level. So once I'm in my astral temple, I can ping off there to elsewhere, or I can communicate back and forth from a little higher level of consciousness from my astral temple to the demonic plane in ascension. Or you can just go straight into full ascension mode, in which you're in that other realm. Some people are naturally attuned to be dream walkers, so you don't always have to be in a meditative state or conscious in that sense. Like, I've had very, very intense experience dream work experiences in which I have gone to other realms. And I have, since I was a child, had very vivid dreams. My dreams are always in color. I remember, what's weird is I remember my dreams sometimes better than I remember my lived experiences. That is how intense my dreams are. I can't tell you what it's like to be what my conscious level experience was as a 4-year-old, but I can tell you dreams I had as a 4-year-old, and I can remember those dreams as vividly as I did when I was 4 years old. None of them were of any great merit per se, but this is also, for me, a lot of, like, say, my ancestor work. There's different places of power, like communicating with deceased friends and relatives, and stuff. A lot of that for me tends to come more through dream work. They will come meet sort of in the middle in the dreamscape. So, your deceased grandmother is coming to you in the dream. It's not like I'm channeling her to, you're invoking her to come here, but they'll communicate through that. So, to quote Hellraiser, the mind is a labyrinth. Um, but I really need to find this article because it's bugging me. I know I read it a few years ago, but it was from a neuroscience perspective, in which basically they kind of discovered that within our neural networks in our minds exist multiple, like the multiverse, like multiple kind of timelines and realities. And I've been getting a lot more into that aspect. Like there's a lot of bullshit woo woo, like love that aspect of, oh, we're ascending to quantum 5D reality. Whatever. It's just that's just marketing speak. But there is stuff that in timeline shifts and things, or because I've been having a lot of really weird timeline shit happening lately, and that's been part of a lot of this work that I'm doing. And I have to say, the vast majority of spiritual work I do is it's not, love magic. I do my money magic stuff, but it's unless I have a specific intention or reason to do something, most of my spiritual work is just for my own personal spiritual development and healing. So, and to learn and to know and to see. So I'm just gonna pop into Lake of Fire, a Demonolator's Guide to Ascension. So this kind of pulls a little bit from the complete book and some other elements as well. So really the foundational core here is, in order to develop an ascension practice or an astral travel practice, is it all starts with meditation. And that can be hard. Believe me, as I said, neurospicy, got the brain squirrelies going on, or the brain zoomies, or my brain squirrels have zoomies, something like that. So I understand deeply how hard it can be and challenging to be to develop a meditation practice. But what I always say, and what I hammer into to all of you is, do what works for you. My body don't work right sometimes. I need to be comfortable. Am I going to, meditate, go into a meditation here right now? I mean, myself is comfortable, but I would rather go into my bedroom. I have my bedroom I have it more set up like it's set up to be the place in which I do that work. So it's very, like, I have the colors like ceiling lights. I have some, on the wall, a very ambient lighting. It's comfortable for me to be in there. So it's easier for me to do it there than, per se, sitting in front of my altar, because I'm only going to be able to do that for a very short amount of time before I am in a lot of pain. There are things you can use to enhance your astral travel, whether it's astral travel, ascension, meditation. There's a lot of things that you can use if you're in a state in which you have, you can go to the non-medical marijuana dispensary and get different types of gummies. You can get Amanita gummies. You can get THC gummies. I personally like the Delta 8 THC gummies. Those ones work the best for me. And ironically, I have one that are called Demon that I got recently, and those ones are awesome. But there's different things that can, like, there's music that immediately takes me out of body. Like, I realized, looking back at some of my old writings and the things I remember, like, I've been able to do this shit since I was in high school. Like, I've had my first, like, astral projection out of body experiences when I was like 15, 16, maybe even younger. But there's certain songs that immediately take me out of body. Falling by Julie Cruz from the Twin Peaks soundtrack. That one, immediately, I'm gone. Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. A lot of Pink Floyd, most of Pink Floyd actually, will take me out of body. Plain Song by The Cure. Let's see, what else is there. It's something that's very ethereal and floaty, like Sigur Rós. Wouldn't necessarily go out of body to say a Rammstein. Not that it's not impossible, but it usually, for me, it's going to be something that more ethereal, floaty, atmospheric kind of music. So that's something you can use to set the mood, for whether it's doing meditation or whether you have an established ascension practice. So you have to develop what works for you. the books and stuff, videos like this is a guide. These are suggestions. This is what works for me. You have to find what works for you. You might not find that type of music enjoyable or whatever at all. Like, I mean, I used to fall asleep listening to Demonolatry, and if you know who Demonolatry is, look up the Plague Mass or the Litanies of Satan and be like, dear, what in the fuck is wrong with you, Jen? Because no one should be able to fall asleep to that, but I would find that relaxing. So I get it. We all have our things. There's different aspects. I've talked to a lot of different people. I think in one of the might be in Lake of Fire, or she talks about using like some Vicks Vapor Rub just to like open up your sensorial, because it's got that cool tingling kind of thing. So you've got different things that we have are easily accessible now, like the little sniff stick kind of things. Like you know how they make the vapor Vicks in a tube for when you have like a cold or something. I used to make aromatherapy inhalers like that. You can get like they're like an aluminum tube or plastic. You get a little cotton, looks like a little mini tampon, a little cotton wick thing in it. Put a bunch of essential oils on it. You can just lightly sniff it. If you can't say, use an essential oil diffuser, you don't want to burn incense or candles while you're doing that. That's a great way to do it. They do make some aromatherapy patches. I know this because I had an MRI last week and they're like, what flavor of aromatherapy patch would you like for the experience? I'm like, I'll take the lavender peppermint one. Because, oh boy, howdy, it takes me 3 Valium to get into the machine. And even then I'm like, oh God, just let this be over. I'm very claustrophobic. So as I describe, at least for this one, sometimes when I've had ones in my hips, they have to bind my legs. So it's like being mummified in a coffin and you are now part of the percussion section of an Einstürzende Neubauten show. And if you get that reference, cool, we can hang. Because so it's about finding what works for you. You might like strawberry incense. There's nothing that says you have to use Nag Champa or Copal or something that corresponds to a particular spirit. Do what works for you. You might find the thing that works for you. And sometimes I have to change it up. I went through a phase where I hadn't used my flying ointments in ages. And I'm just coming back to starting to use them again. I was using a lot more of, like the THC gummies and some of my medical marijuana. Like for me, because of my brain zoomy squirrels, I have to quiet my mind first. So that takes some chemical enhancements, whether I take like a Valium or, Benadryl or something. Just to kind of relax the mind a little bit, that helps me. So there's all sorts of different things you can do to get to start at the base level of developing your meditation practice. And even if it's only for a couple minutes, that's fine. What I try to do, and I've gotten really bad at this over the past couple months, just because I've had some I cannot maintain a regular sleep schedule for very long. So I'm now, and because of medication adjustments, I'm now kind of a little later waking in the morning. But what I was doing for a while, and this worked for me, is I would do at night before bed, I do I go into sort of a meditative state. I do some self Reiki, like a basic kind of invocation of Reiki. I'm like, send the healing wherever it needs to go, open the spirit channels for any communication, downloads, and I do that. Somewhere in one of the books, probably the complete book of Demonolatry, there is an elemental balancing exercise. So I incorporate the visualization of that particular exercise because I'm very almost always out of balance and not grounded and centered because I have no earth anywhere in my entire astrological chart. I am a very watery air sign with some fiery bits in all the wrong places, but in a good way. So I need elemental that kind of grounding. So in that process, I think she elaborates on more. But for what I do in my process with that is while I'm doing this, I kind of envision drawing in, like, say, the water element. So, I'm kind of in the meditative state. I'm sitting there, and then, okay, so I'm sitting in a circle of the earth, in a circle of stones. The circle, fills with water, and then there's some air, like wind or air or smoke. So, I'm kind of pulling in the different elements, like the water comes in, and the fire comes in, and the smoke comes in. I'm bringing these in to kind of balance myself. So those are the three things that I try to do. Do I do them every day? No, but that's sort of my base level kind of practice of what I try to do. Because with doing this the type of work we do is that you can become, if you're not as familiar with working with the demonic divine energy, you can become a little, it can throw you off a little, and that does happen sometimes. So to be able to do that sort of elemental balancing thing is really important. And it's something, again, you can develop your own personal way of doing it. We don't have to do everything by the book. Just a suggestion. This is what works for this person. This is how I adapt it to work for me. All good. Yeah. So I hope this gives you a little bit of how to kind of work, what exactly an ascension practice is, how to work with it, and how it kind of overlaps but differentiates a little bit between what we call like astral travel, astral projection, different forms of meditation. Because a lot of people think meditation is clearing your mind and not letting anything in. It can be. I meditate on, like, I'll take a topic or a subject, like, here's a problem. I'm going to meditate on this. I need a solution to this problem. Or I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to remember this. I I do topical meditations in that sense. So I'm meditating on something, or I'm meditating to communicate with Lucifer, to communicate with Lilith, to receive gnosis, to receive a message. A lot of times I receive product formulations. I think all of my all of the sprays I have, with exception of maybe the Mercury retrograde, transmutation, and what's the other one? The protection and purification one. Oh, the rest of those, the mirror warding, the vampiric protection, the magical attack protection spray, might be one other. Those are all direct channel downloads of like how of what to put in them and how to make them. Like I found like stuck in a book like where I scrawled these random things on. So sometimes I get things that way. Or it's when you quiet your mind down that you can access different things. So hope you find this helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on social media. Sign up for our e-newsletter so you know what's going on, because algorithms suck. And thank you for watching. Love you all. Bye.